the Saturday fights. Down in the South where the gumbo's hot, we talk ball, grit, and give it all we got. Louisiana pride, Georgia dream, Southern sports gumbo, live the team. Who dat? Who's next? Tune in, let's go. It's Southern Sports Gumbo.
All right, guys, welcome to a Sunday night episode here at Southern Sports Gumbo. We're going to be talking Texas football, diving in a little bit more into the fifth year stuff. Seems like every 20 minutes there's more news on that topic. And then we'll even talk a little high school football. Before we dive in, I do want to point out I had someone ask me last episode why I was drinking cut water. It is a sparkling water, not cut water. No drinking on the show for me. A few of my buddies texted me outside of the show to want to know why I was drinking that on YouTube here. So with that said, we will jump right into.
They ain't had to hang out with me and Kevin for a half hour before, so they didn't know that you need a little pregame to get through it.
So we can jump right into the Crimson Tide if you want, Kevin.
Yeah, so Alabama ranked 11th in the coaches poll, preseason coaches poll, 13th in the AP poll. When's the last time that they've been preseason out of the top 10? You got to go back to like 2007, something like that, the incredible run that they've been on. So interesting, in the fact that they are not looked at as a top 5 team, still fringe playoff team, and I think that's very fair with what they have. I think this team is very talented in the skill positions, maybe the best secondary in college football. But the question is going to be in the center of the line of scrimmage, the tackle positions, the center of their defense, and the linebackers. So to kind of dive in a little bit, strength of the team, let's start on the defensive side with the secondary. Xavier Brown, maybe the best cornerback in college football. Bray Hubbard, Keon Sabb, an outstanding safety group. Deep safety room when you also add Ivan Taylor into this group. And freshman Jeriah Edwards. So really deep group there. And then on the other side on the cornerback position, you got Dijon Lee, who was a really good freshman corner last year. Him and DJ Pickett were probably your best 2 freshman cornerbacks. When you get into the middle of their defense at linebacker, to me, this is a question. Caleb Woodson transferred from Virginia Tech. He had, a decent amount of tackles last year, around 70 tackles. That is not traditionally what Alabama middle linebackers, inside linebackers have. They're usually run up into the 80s and 90s when you talk solos and assisted tackles. QB Reese was a 3-star recruit. He's competing to start in one position there on the inside also, along with Luke Metz, who's a sophomore out of the state of Georgia. I think Metz is a very smart football player that's physical. He's 230s. Again, my question, though, when he was a sophomore in high school, he ran an 11.600. So, you filter that out down. That's when he was running track. You filter that down by the time he was a senior, 11.2, maybe 11.1, 11 flat. When you're chasing SEC tight ends, that could be a little bit challenging if he's not improved his speed. That's where I'll say there. So to me, the inside of that defense is a question, especially, like I say, at that linebacker position. Defensive, now on the edge, Janzi Pierre, he'll be one of the best sack specialists in the SEC, playing that hybrid edge, wolf, jack position that a lot of teams run. Defensive line, they have London Simmons, sophomore, who's talented. Devin Tompkins, transfer that they took from USC. that they've spoke highly about. They really are counting on him and Kedrick Bigley Jones, and they bring back Jamarian Latham for a 5th year from that standpoint. So to me, London Simmons is a talented guy, a lot of upside, and they think Tompkins will be that for them too. That is the question to me. That group has to be really good for those linebackers to play well, because those linebackers, to me, on their own, I just question what they have. Going over to the offensive side, strength of their team, wide receiver room, in my opinion, Ryan Coleman Williams, Latier Brooks, really good last year as a freshman. I think those two will be good. Rogers, the NC State transfer that got hurt, if he comes back early, I think he'll play a big role for them and give them 3 really good wide receivers. You hear a lot of different things on Rogers. You hear possibly back week 2, week 3, possibly out to week 6. So who knows? If he doesn't come back, then you're down to Derek Meadows, the sophomore from Vegas, Cedarian Morgan, freshman from Alex City, who was a 5-star recruit. So they do have talent, again, in that wide receiver room and potential depth there. Running back room is also potentially, better than last year. Daniel Hill supposedly is in a lot better shape. Kevin Riley provides depth. The one guy that they really want to be healthy is EJ Kroll, the freshman, who was a little dinged up, and then they've kind of held him out of some drills. I think he will be fine to go week 1, and I think he will be very good. Another freshman, Trayshawn Brown, has got a lot of hype, a 3-star out of Texas. So, again, very deep room and talented. AJ Deere, who's hurt, probably missed the first month, was a freshman last year that they also have a lot of hope for. So plenty of people in that running back room to make an impact. Now, to me, this is the going to the offensive line. This is the key to their team. It was a weakness last year when they played teams that were physical. They couldn't run the ball because they couldn't block people up front. And I still question if they can. They did bring in Rayson Delgatti, a junior transfer at center, and they brought in Jarvin James, a junior transfer, redshirt junior transfer from Mississippi State, to potentially play right tackle. He's competing with Nick Brooks for that position. Michael Carroll, who played some right tackle last year, slid inside to right guard. William Sanders, left guard, and then Jackson Lloyd, who played some last year, they have him penciled in to start at left tackle. When they talk about this group, they talk about Lloyd being an athletic left tackle, Delgatti being an athletic center, James Brooks being athletic right tackles. My question, though, is the athleticism is good, especially if you're going to run some misdirection and traps and you want to pull linemen. That part could be good for them. But my question is the physicalness going to be there. It wasn't there last year, and I don't have a lot of confidence that it will be this year. I just really don't. I think it's going to be a more athletic group. First scrimmage, you heard that the defensive line got the best of them pretty good. The second scrimmage they had midweek last week, supposedly the offensive line was better. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be more in unison. But to me, that's the question mark of their team. Before we do the schedule, you guys got any thoughts just about the team as a whole?
I question their offensive line. They did go out and get transfers, and they knew it was a weak link. The board knows that he's got trouble there, and I'm not sure that they improved it that much. Also curious to see as Russell's been named the starter. The battle has came this far, so we'll see if he's able to maintain that throughout the season, or if he plays his way out of the position. It'll be, Bama will go as far as their offensive line, and Russ will take them. I think defensively they're fine. Fantastic skill position players on the offensive side of the ball, but the main guy in the offensive line, they scare me a little bit. DMAC.
Yeah, very similar to you. Anytime you're starting a first-time starter in the SEC, I know he's a redshirt freshman, but that's never an easy task. And Alabama fans have a very, very unrealistic lens of how they see their program. It wasn't unrealistic until 2 years ago with Saban. It was realistic every year. But I mean, they're just not as good as they were under Saban. You also, in the NIL era, you don't have 5 stars, 5 deep on your roster anymore, like Saban was able to have for years. So yeah, tons of questions about their offensive line, quarterback play. I like the two freshman running backs in Crow and Brown. Um, but outside of that, even with Daniel Hill, not super pumped up about their running back room. I think it'll be similar to kind of Harlem Berry last year at LSU, who looked good at times. But I think they're going to go through a lot of that with the freshman running backs, who eventually win the job this year for them. But defense is going to be fine with you guys. Love their defensive backs. Maybe the best cornerback room in the SEC this year. So you want to dive into the schedule, Kevin?
Yeah, let's get into that. And again, I failed to mention Russell won the starting job, and I think he'll be fine at quarterback. He'll have some ups and downs, but I'm confident in DeBoer and Grubbs and what they get out of quarterback play. Schedule again, we break it down in fours. I'm going to go East Carolina at Kentucky, Florida State, South Carolina at home in those first four. Florida State is also at home. You guys heard me when we picked Kentucky schedules. We went through it. I've got them going 3-1 here. I've got them losing at Kentucky. I think the parts of that offensive line, and I like what Kentucky's done at the line of scrimmage with their transfer room. I think Russell going on the road in that first game, he's going to have some ups and downs, and I just think that Kentucky's going to sneak that game out of there. I know you guys probably disagree. What do you guys got in those first four?
Yeah, I think they beat Kentucky by 10. Yeah, I got them 4-0.
Yeah, I got them 4-0 too.
At Mississippi State's a win. Georgia at home in Tuscaloosa. I don't think they get that game. Georgia will be too strong at the line of scrimmage for them. At Tennessee, tough game there to pick. I think they will get that game. Then they come home to play Texas A&M. I think they lose that game. So in this group of four, I've got them going 3-1. I think they lose to Texas A&M. Well, no, 2-2. Texas A&M and Georgia are losses. Win at Tennessee, win at Mississippi State.
I'm gonna go 2-2. I'm gonna go nuclear. I'm gonna go 1-3. I think they go on a 3-game skid. Georgia smacks them around. Then they go to Tennessee. That'll be a night game undoubtedly in Knoxville. Never an easy place to play. And then Texas A&M. They're 1-3. D-Mac.
I love it. That is exactly where I had them. I am actually tried to do some quick research to see the last time Alabama lost three games in a row and was not able to find that.
You'd have to go back. It'd have to be Saban's first year, where at the end of the season they lost 2 or 3 there at the end.
Yeah, in the Saban era, from what I just saw, they never lost 3 in a row.
That could be interesting.
Even with that ULM loss that first year. So yeah, I've got them losing those 3 in a row: Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas A&M.
You certainly could have some injuries in that stretch of games too. That's some physical games to play. Close out in their last 4. They go to LSU after a bye week, at Vanderbilt, Chattanooga at home, Auburn. I got them losing to LSU, winning those last 3. So I have them at 9-3 overall. No, 9-4. 8-4. I can't get it right. 8-4 is what I have them.
Yeah, I have them going 3-1 to round out, 8-4 as well.
I'm 3-1. Lose to LSU, and the next three I've got them at 8-4 as well. So we all had them at 8-4. Just we got there different ways. It's interesting that we're all sitting here and we all are feel confident that they're going to lose 4 games anyway. So it certainly it would be a big change, but it's kind of the trend. Alabama has been a little bit down since losing Saban, and with NIL and everything else, like I said, DMAC, it's just tough to stack players like they used to.
So at 8-4, how's the Alabama brass feeling about their ball coach?
Unhappy. I don't know that'd put him on the hot seat immediately, but
You know how much they would owe him if they fire him before February 1st?
It's like 50,
67.5 million before
yeah, and
February
then
1st.
and then after February 1st is like mid 50s.
Yeah,
Oh, look, if he
56.25.
goes 8-4, if he goes 8-4, that fan base is upset, especially if they lose physically, like they've lost games, like they lost to Oklahoma last year, like they lost to Indiana, Florida State. It's not. I mean, I've got some Bama friends. It's not that they've lost; it's how they've
how they
lost.
lose. Yep.
In some of those games they've lost, they've been physically manhandled. If they lose some games physically this year and finish 8-4, now I think their ceiling, I think they can go 10-2. Honestly think their floor is probably 8-4. But if they go 8-4 and they lose a couple of games bad, Georgia beats them by 20 and anybody else beats them by 20, there will be people that want him gone. It won't be a hot seat. That seat will be burning.
I'm gonna tell you what, if he loses to Kentucky, and the other games, Georgia, Tennessee, A&M, LSU, those are all games against a lot more solid competition than Kentucky. Yeah, it could get ugly. I don't like I said, I don't think he'd be on the hot seat at 8-4, but if he goes 8-4, 8-4 back to back, that get a little warmer.
Yeah, wild. I don't even want to call it a fall because it's, to me, not a fall for Bama. You're not going to replicate having the greatest coach of all time in college football.
You lose someone like that, you got to regress to the mean a little bit. And like I said, 8-4 isn't awful in the SEC. It's just not what they're used to over the past 15, 20 years. So it's upsetting.
So if you're Alabama, let's say, man, things you finish 8-4, maybe 7-5, you lose to Auburn to close out. You make a coaching change. If you're the brass at Alabama, who's your number one call?
Kiffin, depending on how he does at LSU. If
Who you
Kiffin
got, D-Mac?
he'd be the first call.
I'm calling Curt Cignetti.
Kev?
That's a good one. That's a good one. To me, it's one guy, and I know Saban likes him. It's Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. I think he's your next like young guy. If you want to go get a guy 10 years to build your program to do a lot of things, I think Marcus Freeman will be the guy they go after.
It's Alabama. That would be interesting. And I'll just leave it at that. That'd be interesting.
Hopefully, in the 2027 season, we're looking at DeBear again and not any of those three on the Alabama sideline.
Well, but the melt would be epic if we were looking at Freeman or somebody else on the sideline next year. Boy, that it might be fun just to go through that.
Freeman would be tough to beat. I keep DeBoer. Stay away from Freeman. Let's talk about the 5-year scenario here. You've got the tight end from Ole Miss that's committed to LSU now. If he passes waivers and if it gets through the court system, what do we think?
I think it's ridiculous. This guy is on got waived now. Was competing for a spot on an NFL team. it's wild. They're gonna have to put an anti-tampering policy in on NFL teams here pretty soon, so you don't have colleges going to poach NFL guys. It blows my mind that guys are signing deals to go back to college if it doesn't work out. Ahead of time. I know Jack Pyburn spoke recently too, and his statement was, "Hey, basically, this is my agents, planning things out. I'm fighting to earn a spot on an NFL team. That's my focus."
Smart,
But
smart kid.
but to have something, the tight end to have something signed in place, that's that to me. That's soft.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
yeah.
that's too deep of a safety net. And the NFL needs to come. The NFL can stop this from happening if they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, the NFL. They can put the NCAA in their place. Like we talked about the other night. I think these kids should just, your 5, 6 years, that you've already spent there. That's enough. It's time to move on. I do understand. Like I said, I'm not going to throw stones because I understand if a kid doesn't make an NFL team and has the option to go back and get a $500,000 to play another season and perhaps give himself another crack at another bite at the apple next year in the draft or whatever. Why not? And honestly, what else is that kid going to do? Like TJ Finley said, well, what else am I going to do and make that type of money right now out of college for a year? Nothing.
So my
So
my issue is totally with this being allowed to happen.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
if it's
I
if
get it.
you're following the rules of what they're allowing happen, like, hey, go get as much as you can. But the NCAA won't do anything. So the NFL's got to step in. Don't blame the kids at all. They're just playing the game they're in. But yeah, there's got to be a group of adults, for lack of a better term, that's got to put some guidelines and rules in place.
I think they're already there. They just need to follow them. I mean, the
no,
rules are already there.
no. Again, Sweets, the judges are
Yeah,
what's bonker in this. It
yeah.
has nothing to do with the rules being followed. It's judges stepping in and clearing the way for it to happen. So you can't. It's just like Trinidad getting the extra year. You can't. Once a judge steps in and makes it okay, it ties their hands.
Yeah.
Again, I'm against it, but with where it's at, I think you're going to have a 1 year anomaly and it gets cleaned up either through the Sports Act or I think conferences break away and they go individual. But I guess here's another thing to me, the way that we look at it is over the years, you had medical red shirts, you've had different ways, gray shirts that were implemented, you've had different ways and different things to grant players eligibility, stack rosters. You had 85 limits, but again, medical red shirts, gray shirts. There was a lot of years there with Bama was at 85, but then you would count and there would be 88, 80, 89 guys. And the only thing I'm referencing here is, and you have the Bediako thing, coaches are going to do it. Players are going to do it until things are in place where you can't. And I do like your idea, D-Mac, with the NFL. But I guess here's where I'm going with this. I'm totally against it. However, I'm glad that LSU is back with a coach that is taking the initiative to be on the front side of this. If the window is there,
Mhm.
step through the window.
Walk through the door. Listen, that's what Signetti did last year. Everyone was complaining, oh, they had a bunch of 24-year-olds on their offensive line. So, I mean, nobody else was was in handcuffs and couldn't go sign those, all those, middle-aged offensive linemen. I mean, LSU could have done it, Bama could have done it, Georgia could have done it. Signetti did it, and he won a title. I agree with you, Kevin. If the NCAA is going to allow it, then by all means, walk up to the line and tow it and do all you can to legally get kids in your program. Once the window closes, find another way.
Any other thoughts?
No, that pretty much sums it up for me. I mean, any of these guys that end up on an LSU roster or a UNLV roster, I'll be rooting for them. That's for sure.
Now, I did want to say that while we did talk about 5 for 5 this evening, Jaden, we don't want no problems. We just, it's somebody else made that saying up, so we're just using it. So
You need to, Mama Daniels is the one you need to talk to.
Mama Jackson. Yes, yes. Apologies all the way around. Us. No
What
disrespect.
about high school football in Georgia? While we've got like 2 minutes here left, that we want to kind of discuss some things. The more things change, the more they stay the same. When you have Carrollton beating Rome 55-7 and Buford pulling away from Gainesville in what was a good game, 39-13, and then you get the defensive lineman from Texas transferring to Buford. So is it going to be Carrollton and Buford in the finals again this year?
If the brackets line up that way, probably. And listen, I don't feel sad for Carrollton. Carrollton got some pretty solid transfers in the offseason as well. They got the was it the running back, the Watts kid? I think he came from, where did that kid come from? Columbus, somewhere down in that area. Kev, does that sound right?
Yeah, could be. I'm not sure.
Yeah. He was rushed for over 1,000 yards as a freshman last year. Made his way up to Carrollton. They've got the number one sophomore quarterback in the country in CJ Cipher. Threw for 269 and 4 TDs the other night. Daryl McFadden. I don't know if he's related to Darren McFadden. Could be. I'm going to look into that. Sophomore wide receiver / DB had 87 yards in the game last night. Carrollton is loaded. Lots of highly ranked kids. I say Appling and King, no excuses. I mean, one of you is going to lose it, but there's no excuse for you to. All your players are there. You just need to go close it out. Yeah,
Carrollton, much like last year, when Juju was there, they were great offensively, but didn't have the talent on defense. The last 2 years, though, they've brought in more defensive players too. Helton was great last year. He's at Georgia now, as he played both ways last year. But they're good defensively. So to me, if they do meet in the state championships, that makes it a very interesting game because, again, that's Buford's strength. They're always going to be tough to score on, and then they just kind of pound that running game, and it's ugly, but it just eventually works.
Yeah, I mean, then and they've got the talent too, and you like I said with the number one player in the country being added to your program, and that's a done deal. Apparently, he has already been cleared by the GHSA and everything. So, I guess he'll be in uniform next Friday night. Apparently, word on the street is he reached out to several teams in Georgia. So why he wanted to come to Georgia, I don't know. Possibly, more interest in Georgia than is, they're fighting to get his commitment from Texas Tech. We'll see what happens. DMAC, Carrollton is coming to Baton Rouge on the 4th to play Catholic. Be a good opportunity for you to get to see him in person if you're around.
Yeah, that's day before the Clemson game.
Yep.
Might be able to swing that one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That'll be a good game, and it will. People are always, because we're LSU guys. We got a lot of buddies who are always talking and wondering how Louisiana football would line up against Georgia football. You've got two of the best representatives from each state going at it, so this will be a good barometer of how things will go. My prediction for that game right now, I think Carrollton will handle them. High school kids traveling 500 miles is going to be tough at any time. You don't know what a 14-year-old to 18-year-old is thinking in any given time anyway. So, but I think Carrollton will go handle their business against Catholic. You got any thoughts on that game?
Yeah,
just early thoughts.
Give me the Catholic High Bears 35-31, winning at home in Baton Rouge.
I love it. Kev?
Carrollton will win that game like 44-10, 14, something like that. Nothing against any other team, but again, Carrollton and Buford are loaded. These guys have a lot of players that can play at the next level. They're good teams. You know, nothing against nobody, but those they can play.
And they're well coached teams too. One thing
Yes.
that Georgia high schools don't skip on is paying their coaches, and that's why Georgia has so many great players, because they get the coaching and the training from the ground up. So
Facilities, coaching,
Yeah.
they get it all.
yeah, I mean Carrollton will go to LSU, and they'll probably get to see the facilities and stuff. And Carrollton's indoor practice facility, the field itself is nothing different from what LSU has. The rest of the building's a little different, but I mean, for a high school to have a indoor practice facility, and they've had it for a decade plus too. So it's another tool to be good.
Any last minute thoughts before we wrap up?
Nope, we're going to preview LSU and Texas next, and I'm sure things will happen this week.
All right. Well, we will see you guys soon.